morning, distinguished committee members, professors, and guests. My name is Marc, and it's my great honor to present my findings of my DBA research. The title of my study is The Impact of Empowering Leadership on Employee Psychological Well-Being in the Chinese Context, the Mediating Roles of the Psychological Capital. So my thesis supervisor is Professor Marc Valax. First, I'd like to introduce myself. I began my HR career in China Mobile since 2004. It's one of the biggest telecom companies in the world. And later, I became an executive at FESCO, a renowned HR service provider in China, providing human resource service to multinational companies like Microsoft and IBM. In 2012, after systematic study, I entered the fields of the psychological and leadership coach, and now I'm a consultant and coach for companies, especially for Chinese companies. And I'm also applying the psychological theories to enhance management effectiveness and employee well-being. My presentation, this is my overview. It will be organized in 7 points. So let's dive to the first one. In today's world, we are living in the era we call the Danny era. You know, things are brittle, anxiety is high, and outcomes sometimes are non-linear, and events are often incomprehensible. We are seeing how even small events can trigger huge disruptions. The COVID-19 pandemic has intensified this challenge, causing the major drop in economic confidence and consumer demand. This situation hit small and medium-sized businesses in China particularly hard, leading to layoff and bigger operational challenges. Companies now have to adopt quickly to stay competitive. At the same time, employees are feeling more stressed and often more pessimistic about the future. This reality is testing both the resilience of the business and the mental health of the employees. In response, Chinese SMEs are now focusing on boosting their vitality without spending more money. They are putting more emphasis on the employee well-being and exploring new leadership styles that can motivate and inspire their teams. My research explores the empowering leadership as a potential solution. Well, this leadership style benefits employees, managers, and organizations by fostering a work environment that encourages independence and innovation. However, its impact on psychological well-being is indirect. Empowering leadership boosts job autonomy, engagement, and self-confidence, which then enhance mental health at work. This is where psychological capital plays a key mediating role. In China, the influence of empowering leadership is more complex. The country's traditional hierarchy culture with high power distance and collectivist values can weaken its effects. This makes organizational culture a crucial factor in my research. So, my research focused on 3 main questions. First one, how does empowering leadership impact employee psychological well-being? And the second, what role does psychological capital play as a mediator in the relationship? And the third, how does organizational culture influence the effectiveness of empowering leadership? Now, let's dive into the core concept of my research. First, empowering leadership? Well, empowering leadership is a set of behavior that make the work meaningful and engaging, enhance the employee's autonomy. It includes supporting individual development by providing resources and personal and professional growth, ensuring the tasks follow standard procedures, delegating authority to give the employee autonomy, setting and achieving specific goals together, involving employees in decision-making, and coaching them through the challenge when they face challenges. The next is psychological capital. We can call PsyCap. This is the central to my study, and it represents the positive psychological state that include self-efficacy, hope, optimism, and resilience. It's not just about feeling good, it's about having the strength and mindset to achieve and overcome challenges. Then we have employee psychological well-being. Well, this is the multi-dimensional concept based on the Rife model. It includes 6 dimensions: autonomy, environmental mastery, personal growth, positive relations with others, purpose and life, and self-acceptance. Together, we provide a comprehensive picture of an individual's mental health and overall well-being. Lastly, we talk about the organizational culture. Organizational culture is defined using a competitive value framework by Quinn and Cameron. It describes the shared attitudes, values, and goals and practice within an organization. The framework breaks down culture into 4 types: clan, advocacy, monarchy, and hierarchy, each with its own characteristics and influence on how empowering leadership can be implemented effectively. This concept from the foundation of my research, defining its scope and the building structure of my theoretic framework. Using this solid foundation, I will develop a rational framework that integrates these 4 key elements. Now, let's take a close look at my research framework. This framework shows how empowering leadership positively impacts psychological capital, which then boosts employees' psychological well-being. It also highlights the roles of organizational culture as a moderating factor. Depending on the type of the culture, it can either strengthen or sometimes weaken the effects of the empowering leadership. This illustrates the importance of connection between leadership style, psychological resources, and the cultural environment they operate in. My research focused on 3 main hypotheses about how empowering leadership affects employee well-being in the Chinese organization. H1, empowering leadership positively influences employee psychological well-being in the Chinese context. H2, psychological capital mediates the relationship between empowering leadership and psychological well-being. And H3, organizational culture moderates the impacts of the empowering leadership on psychological capital. Wow. This hypothesis highlights the complex interaction between leadership style, psychological resource, and the organizational environment. In the research, we adopt a mixed method approach, combining quantitative surveys with qualitative interviews. This dual strategy had us test our hypothesis with the solid data and gained real-world insights. For the quantitative analysis, I targeted first-level and mid-level middle managers in Chinese enterprises, given their unique roles of facing the pressure from above while influencing their teams. I got 248 valid responses. Data was collected using the comprehensive surveys of the 18 questions across the 4 established scales. The first is empowering leadership behavioral scales. The second, organizational culture assessment instrument. And the third, psychological capital questionnaire. And the last, psychological well-being scales. Regression analysis instead was used to quantify the impacts of the leadership on empowering outcomes, providing clear numerical evidence. This method also shows how organizational culture could amplify or reduce these efforts. For the qualitative analysis, I conduct in-depth interview with the 7 top managers from various sectors. Our interview guide focus on 7 key questions about empowering practice and their impacts of psychological capital and well-being. We use a structural analysis, starting with the data collection, followed by coding key phrases related to empowering leadership, and then exploring how these things supported or challenged our hypothesis. This detailed approach ensures that our qualitative findings complement our quantitative result. Let's move on to the results of the quantitative analysis. We collected data from 248 valid surveys and used regression analysis instead to examine the relationships. This result confirmed our hypothesis. Empowering leadership has a significant positive effect on psychological capital, which in turn boosts employees' psychological well-being. Our study also highlights the moderating roles of organizational culture. The most supportive culture type is a Goxe, followed by clan, then market culture, and hierarchy culture. This ranking shows that cultures that prioritize the innovation and flexibility amplify the benefits of empowering leadership far more than those focused on the order and control. Well, building on the quantitative finding, the qualitative research provides a deeper insight into how empowering leadership works. It confirms that this leadership style significantly boosts psychological capital, which in turn enhances overall well-being. The research highlights the crucial roles of organizational culture. Open, positive cultures that emphasize results, innovation, and relationship foster autonomy and the growth of psychological capital. In contrast, restrictive hierarchy cultures can hinder its development. So there are two key insights that we should be notable. The first is initial stress. Empowering management, empowerment may initially cause stress, but this is usually temporary and can be managed with effective strategies, building to greater resilience. Second, the lack of the empowerment. In tightly controlled environment, lack of the empowerment can limit motivation and self-growth, reducing enthusiasm and confidence, showing the downsides of the authorization. These findings align with our quantitative results and deepen our understandings of how empowering leadership impacts various organizational settings. Well, the feasibilities of the empowering leadership depends on the 2 factors: the adaptabilities of the organizational culture and the openness of the leaderships. You know, Chinese society tend to have high power distance and preference for stability, which can conflict with the flexible atmosphere needed for the empowerment. So leadership mindset is equally important. Many Chinese small and medium-sized enterprises are still influenced by the traditional top-down leadership, while some companies are shifting towards the more egalitarian structure. This change is often incomplete, especially in some very large state-owned and centralized private firms. To evaluate whether empowering leadership is feasible, we need to assess the organizational culture and gather feedback from leaders and employees. Let's go to the necessity. Not all companies need to implement empowering leadership right away. It's important to consider the specific challenges and needs of the organization. It's essential to carefully assess the company's current management situation before adopting empowering leadership. By analyzing the organization, leadership, and employee level, we can identify whether this approach addresses core issues. If it does, its implementation becomes crucial. If not, it may be better to wait. And to guide to empowering leadership, while in the Chinese culture, it requires well-structured system to work effectively. Without this, there's a risk of the light empowerment, unclear goals, or poor oversight. A step-by-step guide is key. It starts with identifying the right tasks and assigning them to the right people. Right tasks to the right people. Equally important is dedicating real authority, allowing the employee to make meaningful decisions and act independently. Clear assignments of the goals across organization is critical to avoid wasted effort to keep teams united. Good communication and coaching are essential as well, supporting employees as they take on the task and help to build their problem-solving skills and morale, and ensuring they feel the value and understood. Third, the scope and objective of the implementation. Implement empowering leadership in the phases is a smart way to manage risk and test its effectiveness. Starting with the pilot project allows for careful control and opportunity to gather feedback and make the adjustment as needed. And for the our finding also shows that the challenge of the leader comes from its complexity and cultural barrier. Often, the leaders they face a barrier such as that of losing control, cultural resistance, and lack of skills that are needed for effective empowerment. Well, let's talk about the managerial implication and discussion. After completing this research, I've very inspired to explore and inspiring empowering leadership. With my background in psychology and experience, and I want to do the three things: developing a tailored leadership course system, and personalized coaching for managers, and writing professional articles with my supervisor, Marc Valax. There are a few limitations. The sample size could be larger, and the future study could include more diverse group to enhance the generability, and also to be helpful to examine how industry characteristics, leaders' skills, and task difficulties influence the outcomes of empowering leadership. A Chinese proverb says, "Given a man a fish, you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, and you feed him for a lifetime." This perfectly captures the essence of the empowering leadership. It's not just giving the solution of others, it's about equipping people with the skills and independence to solve problems on their own. Finally, I'd like to express my deeply thanks to my advisor, Professor Marc Valax. Thank you for your invaluable guidance and support throughout this journey. And Marc's insight has been crucial in shaping the research. I also want to thank the examiner for your thoughtful suggestion and feedback. Your expertise have truly enriched this work. And all of you here, and especially my wife, sometimes I've worked very busy, and my wife accompanied me and try to travel a long distance to today. Thank you very much. 谢谢. Thank you.